Her shoulders tensed. It's complicated. I can handle complicated, he said quietly. She looked up at him, eyes wet, not just from the rain. You don't understand. I wasn't honest with you. About what? She hesitated, searching for words she didn't want to say. My name isn't just Emily Carter. It's Emily Harrington. Tom froze. The name alone carried weight, wealth, power. Headlines, the daughter of that Harrington family. For a moment, all he could do was stare at her. So all this time, I didn't lie, she cut in. I just didn't tell you everything. I needed somewhere to breathe. Somewhere no one expected anything from me. And you thought a single dad's spare room would be invisible enough? He said, his voice sharper than he intended. She flinched. You make it sound awful? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. No, I thought we were honest with each other. We were, she said softly. That's the problem. I started to forget who I was supposed to be. For a long time, neither spoke. Only the sound of rain against the window filled the silence. Then she stepped closer, almost whispering, you were the only one who didn't want something from me. Tom's throat tightened. Maybe that's why I didn't see this coming. Her hand twitched at her side, like she wanted to reach out, but didn't. The air between them felt too full, too charged. Emily, he began, but his voice broke halfway. She looked up at him, eyes shining in the dim kitchen light. Say it. He shook his head. If I do, you'll leave. She took a slow breath. If you don't, I already have. The rain outside grew heavier, almost drowning out the silence that followed. Then she stepped back, picked up her umbrella, and left the room without another word. He stood there for a long time, watching the door, listening to the echo of her footsteps fade into the night. When he finally turned off the light, he saw it on the counter, the envelope, an open dot on the front, and her handwriting. It said, for when it rains again. The next morning, the rain had stopped, but the house felt colder. Tom moved through the kitchen like a ghost, making coffee he didn't drink, staring at the empty chair where Emily used to sit with her laptop and a messy bun. Her room door was open, bed neatly made, the faint scent of her perfume still hanging in the air. She was gone. He should have expected it, but something in him still hoped to see her come downstairs, laughing about something small, pretending last night hadn't happened. On the counter, the envelope waited. He picked it up slowly, running a thumb across her handwriting, for when it rains again. He sat down, took a breath, and opened it. Inside was a short note and a check. The amount made his heart stop for a moment. It was enough to pay off his debts, his late mortgage payments, even start fresh, but it was the note that hit hardest. Tom, you told me once that money can't fix everything. You were right. But sometimes it can give someone a chance to breathe. Consider this my way of saying thank you for letting me be nobody for a while. Don't try to find me. You already did. Emily, he stared at the paper for a long time, the words burning into his mind. All at once, memories floated back. Her quiet laughter when his son, Max, drew her a stick figure portrait. Her habit of humming when she cooked. The way she'd always listen, really listen. When he talked about his late wife, he folded the note and slipped it back into the envelope. He couldn't keep the money. That wasn't what this had been about. Later that day, he went to the post office. He mailed the check back to the address on the Harrington family business card he found in her drawer. No letter, no explanation, just the check and the envelope that had held it. When he got home, Max was waiting. Is Emily coming back? The boy asked. Tom smiled faintly. Maybe one day, but she's got things she needs to do. Max thought for a moment, then said, she'll miss you. Tom chuckled softly. I think we'll both miss her. Outside, clouds began to gather again. Not storm clouds, just enough to make the air smell like rain. He looked toward the empty chair by the window and whispered, almost to himself, until it rains again. Emily, 6 months passed, seasons shifted. The leaves outside turned gold, then fell away. Tom and Max had settled into a quiet rhythm again. School, work, dinner, bedtime stories. Life was steady, even peaceful. But sometimes, when it rained, Tom caught himself glancing at the door. Waiting. Then one evening, it happened. The sky broke open with the same kind of soft rain that had started everything. Tom was reading a bedtime story to Max when someone knocked on the door. A slow, hesitant knock 3 times. He froze. Max looked up. Dad? Who's that? Tom smiled faintly. I don't know, kiddo. Let's find out. He opened the door, and there she was. Emily stood under the porch light, a little older somehow, her hair tied back, her eyes nervous. The umbrella trembled in her hands. Hey, Tom, she said softly. It's raining again. For a long moment, he couldn't say anything. His heart caught somewhere between anger, surprise, and something he couldn't name. Emily. He stepped aside. Come in before you catch a cold. She smiled weakly and walked inside. The familiar scent of home hit her, coffee, old books, the faint trace of PINEWOOD. It hadn't changed. Tom crossed his arms. You could have called. I didn't know if you'd answer, she admitted. He raised an eyebrow. After mailing me a small fortune. You think I wouldn't? That earned a small laugh from her, the kind he'd almost forgotten. I wasn't sure you'd understand, she said. When I left, I needed to make things right with my family. My father, he wanted me to take over the foundation. I thought I wasn't ready, and now? She met his gaze, steady this time. Now I know what I want. I've been helping fund housing for single parents, veterans, people starting over. I learned that from you, Tom, from this place. He blinked, caught off guard. From me? She nodded. You showed me what real kindness looks like, the kind that doesn't expect anything back. Max peeked from the hallway. Emily, he squeaked, running over. She knelt and hugged him tight. Hey, buddy. You've gotten taller. Tom smiled, a quiet warmth spreading through his chest. For a few seconds, everything felt like it used to. Laughter, comfort. The sound of rain outside. When she stood. She looked at Tom seriously. I didn't come to stay, she said. Not yet, but I wanted to tell you that I never forgot. He nodded slowly. And the rain? She smiled faintly. I guess it's just our signal. She stepped back toward the door, lifting her umbrella. I'll see you again. When it rains. Tom watched her disappear into the mist, her figure blurring with the drizzle, and for once, he didn't feel the emptiness of goodbye. He just stood there smiling, whispering the words she once left behind for when it rains again. It started on an ordinary Wednesday. The kind that smelled like rain and reheated coffee. Tom had just finished fixing a leaking tap in the kitchen when he saw the note on the counter. Room for rent, quiet tenant preferred. He'd written it 2 days earlier, still half unsure if he really wanted someone else in the house. His daughter had left for college last spring, and ever since then the house had been too quiet. Dinner for one. Lights off early. Even the sound of his own footsteps seemed louder these days. When the knock came that afternoon, he expected a salesman, not a young woman standing in the rain, holding a folder and a paper cup that had gone cold. Hi, I'm here about the room, she said, voice soft, almost hesitant. Her name was Emily, 19, studying architecture at the local university. She didn't say much at first, but her eyes kept taking in everything. The old photographs, the worn furniture, the half-finished shelf project in the corner. He showed her the room. She listened, nodded, and smiled. That kind of polite smile that hides exhaustion. It's perfect, she said. If you're okay with me being quiet. He almost laughed. Quiet's not a problem here. By evening, she'd moved in with 2 suitcases and a single framed picture, a blurry shot of a coastline at sunset. No friends helping, no family car outside. Just her. Tom noticed small things over the next few days. She made tea at exactly the same time each morning. Green tea, no sugar. She used headphones even when watching videos on her laptop. And when she laughed, which was rare, it sounded like she'd forgotten she could. He didn't ask questions. He never did, but sometimes. He'd catch himself pausing at the doorway when she thanked him for dinner or asked if she could help with dishes. There was something in the way she said thank you, not out of politeness, but relief. As if being treated kindly was still a new concept. One Sunday, it rained again. Emily was sitting on the porch steps, sketchbook in hand, drawing the shape of the dripping trees. Tom brought her a mug of tea. You draw? He asked, trying to, she said. I used to paint, but I don't know. Lately, I can't finish anything. He nodded, understanding more than he let on. Sometimes finishing isn't the point. She smiled faintly, and for a moment, she didn't look like a stranger anymore. Later that night, as Tom turned off the porch light, he noticed her sketchbook left open on the table. The page wasn't of the trees, it was of his house. Every crack, every shadow, and there, in the corner of the drawing, she had written one line in tiny, deliberate letters. Home feels strange, but good. He closed the sketchbook quietly, not wanting her to know he'd seen it for the first time in months. He didn't mind the quiet dot. It's strange how quickly a stranger can become part of your routine. Within a week, Tom had started making 2 cups of coffee instead of one black, one with too much milk, just how Emily liked it. She never asked him to, but she always noticed. Thanks, she'd say, wrapping both hands around the mug, like she was trying to warm something more than just her fingers. Their conversation stayed small, whether class schedules, what kind of paint lasts longest on damp wood. But the quiet between those words was never uncomfortable. It was ... steady. One evening, she came home late, hair damp from rain, eyes distant. Tom was sanding a piece of wood in the living room, a half-built bookshelf he'd been working on for months. Bad day? He asked, not looking up. Just projects. She set her bag down, exhaled. People like to talk over me. I stopped trying after a while. He smiled faintly. Yeah, people do that. She sat nearby, watching the sandpaper move. You build everything yourself? Mostly, this one's taken longer than it should. Why? He shrugged. Guess I keep overthinking where the pieces should fit. Emily laughed quietly, not at him, but at the truth in it. That sounds familiar. After that, she started helping. Sometimes she'd hand him tools, sometimes she'd just sit, sketching while he worked. They didn't talk much, but something wordless settled between them. A rhythm like the scrape of wood and pencil filling the silence. One night, while cleaning up, she noticed the family photo on the mantel. Tom's ex-wife, their daughter between them, a photo from years ago. She looks like you, Emily said softly. She used to draw too, he replied. Better than I ever could. She still does? He hesitated. Maybe. We don't talk much anymore. College keeps her busy. There was a pause long enough for the air to thicken with unspoken things. Emily nodded slowly. I know that kind of silence. He looked at her then. The way she said it wasn't casual. It came from somewhere heavy, but before he could ask, she smiled again, too quickly. Anyway, the shelf's finally straight. You'll have to teach me next time. Later that night, after she went to bed, Tom noticed something new. On the corner of the shelf they'd been sanding, someone had carved a small line with a pencil. Steady hands. Steady your heart. It wasn't his handwriting. He ran a thumb over the words, feeling something shift quietly inside him. Not affection, not curiosity. Just a small reminder that two people can help each other heal without ever meaning to. From that night on, the house didn't feel lonely anymore. Just lived and it began with a phone call. Not the ringing kind. The missed kind. Tom found her phone buzzing on the counter one morning. The name flashing just long enough to read it before the screen went black. Mr. H. Driver. Strange name. Formal. Not how friends saved each other in their contacts. When Emily returned, she looked pale, distracted. She didn't notice the phone had moved an inch, didn't see Tom glance up from his coffee. You okay? He asked. Yeah, she said too quickly. Just long night. Group project again. But the tremor in her voice said something else. He didn't press. People deserved their private corners. Still, the air between them had changed. Thinner now. Edged with something like distance. A few days later, he came home early from work and found her sitting in the kitchen, laptop open. Tears caught in the reflection of the screen. She turned it off the moment he walked in. Sorry, she said, standing too fast. I'll clean this up. You don't have to, he replied gently. You can just sit. She hesitated, then sat back down, her hands gripping the edge of the table. I thought I could do it, she said quietly. Start over without anyone knowing. But it's harder than I thought. Knowing what? She shook her head. It's not important, just family stuff. He nodded. Family's always important. That's the problem. That made her laugh, barely. You sound like my dad, yeah? He is a stubborn man, too. Her eyes softened, but there was something in them, guilt, or maybe grief. Something like that. The next day, she left early for class and didn't return until midnight. Tom tried not to worry. But when headlights flashed outside, he looked through the curtain and saw a black car idling near the gate. A man in a suit stepped out, walked to the porch, and handed Emily something before driving off. She didn't notice Tom watching from the window when she finally came inside. She was holding a small envelope, white, clean, sealed with a gold crest. She tucked it into her jacket pocket and went straight to her room. That night, he couldn't sleep. Not because of suspicion, but because he'd seen the look on her face as she stood in the rain with that envelope. It wasn't fear. It was regret. The next morning, Emily was up early, making coffee for the first time. Her eyes were tired but calm. Thanks, Tom said, taking the mug. She smiled faintly. You've been kind, Mr. Harris. You didn't have to be. I think we both needed quiet, he said. She nodded, and for the first time, he realized how carefully she chose her words. Like someone used to speaking where every word was measured. Then, as she turned to leave, a folded piece of paper slipped from her notebook. He got a glimpse of it before she picked it up, a letterhead embossed with Harrington Estates. It didn't click until later that day. The name on the missed call. Mr. H. Driver. Driver. As in chauffeur. Harrington. As in the family that owned half the city's skyline. Emily wasn't just quiet. She was hiding an entire life. It was raining again. The kind of steady, tired rain that turns a small town into a reflection of itself. Blurred edges, muted sounds. Everything slowed down. Tom was fixing a leak in the kitchen when Emily came home. Her jacket was soaked through, her hair clinging to her face. She didn't even bother closing the umbrella, all the way before setting it down by the door. You're drenched, Tom said. She shrugged. It's just water. Her tone was flat, not cold, just somewhere else. He wiped his hands on a towel, unsure whether to ask what was wrong. Then he saw it, the envelope again, this time in her trembling hands. I think I should move out, she said suddenly. The words hit harder than he expected. Move out? Why?